Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we sift through stacks of information and pull out those surprising insights you really need. Today, we're plunging into something truly fascinating, the remarkable world of the female brain.
Yeah, it's a topic that raises questions immediately.
Right. Like you might be asking, why a book specifically about the female brain? Isn't brain health knowledge pretty universal?
Uh-huh.
That's exactly the question our source material kicks off with, and it's what we're here to unpack today. Our main guide for this is Dr. Daniel Amen. You've probably heard the name.
Oh, yeah, he's huge in the field.
Definitely. Renowned brain scientist, the Washington Post called him America's most popular psychiatrist, sometimes even called the father of American brain health.
And the data he has. It's incredible. His Amen clinics have gathered over 100,000 brain scans. That's just a massive amount of information to draw from.
It really is.
And his core idea, well, it's that women have evolved these unique brain advantages, specifically geared toward survival and reproduction.
But advantages, okay.
But, and this is key, these advantages come with specific trade-offs. It's not all upside. The bigger point he makes is that understanding how your specific brain works, its unique design, is fundamental for taking care of it effectively.
Right, it gives you that why.
Exactly. It helps build that conviction, that consistency we often lack. You know, like with going to the gym, we know we should, but really sticking to it, that needs a deeper reason sometimes.
So our mission today is to really try and see the female brain.
Yeah.
Understand its evolutionary roots, its strengths,
Yeah.
the hidden costs of those strengths, and then get into some practical, targeted ways to actually nurture it.
Sounds good. Let's get into that blueprint.
Okay, so when we talk about the female brain, it's definitely not just, a smaller male brain.
Not at all.
Our sources really emphasize that its architecture was shaped by some major evolutionary challenges specific to women.
Two big ones, primarily.
Yeah. First, the immense demands of childbirth, and then the long-term intensive care required for infants.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Absolutely. And second, the need for survival, often without the same physical strength as men. So navigating social dynamics, assessing threats subtly, that became crucial.
And these weren't just small tweaks, right? This drove fundamental changes over millennia.
Precisely. Which leads to actual measurable differences in brain anatomy. Dr. Amen talks about the 2 small, 4 big differences.
Okay, let's break that down. The small ones first.
Right. So first, overall brain volume. Female brains are, on average, about 8 to 10% smaller than male brains.
Yeah.
And even if you adjust for body size differences, there are still about 4% fewer neurons overall in the female brain.
Fewer neurons, but maybe working differently.
Well, we'll get to that. The second small difference is the amygdala. That's the part deep in the brain dealing with fear and anger.
The fight or flight center.
Kind of, yeah. It's smaller in women. Now, this might seem odd, but Dr. Amen suggests this means women are generally less sensitive to sudden fear and anger triggers. It helps explain why men, according to the source, might be more prone to those sudden outbursts of rage when they feel threatened.
Interesting. So it's smaller amygdala, maybe less reactive in that specific way?
Potentially, yeah. Now, on to the big differences. These are really where things get fascinating.
Okay.
Just first, the prefrontal cortex, or PFC, this is your brain's CEO, basically. Thinking, planning, language, and crucially, impulse control. It's like the brain's brakes.
And in women.
It's larger. This anatomical difference likely contributes to women's generally stronger language skills and, linking back to the amygdala point, a lower tendency towards those angry outbursts or physical aggression. Better brakes.
Better brakes, okay. Makes sense. What's next?
Second big difference, the limbic system. This is the emotional hub of the brain. It's more developed in women.
So does that mean more emotion?
More sensitive emotional processing, deeper connection to feelings, perhaps more nuanced interpretation of emotional states in others.
Okay. And the third?
The hippocampus. That's your memory center. It's larger in women, too.
Which would explain why women often demonstrate better memory recall?
That's the connection Dr. Amen makes, yes. Better hardware for memory storage and retrieval.
And the last big difference?
This one's about white matter. The brain's wiring, the connections between different areas. Now, men tend to have slightly more total white matter.
Okay.
But women have more white matter concentrated in the specific regions associated with intelligent thought.
So quality over quantity, maybe. Or density in key areas.
Kind of. It means women might be better wired for activating multiple brain regions simultaneously, connecting diverse pieces of information. Think complex problem solving, multitasking, integrating different types of input.
Wow. So smaller overall, Fewer neurons maybe, but potentially more efficient or interconnected in critical thinking areas.
That seems to be the picture Dr. Amen paints, yeah.
That anatomical tour is really insightful. But the part that really grabbed me was how these differences translate into specific advantages and their costs.
Yes, the trade-offs. Dr. Amen really hammers this home. Every gain has a cost. It's a fundamental biological principle, really.
Let's look at the first advantage he identifies, stronger intuition. Women often seem better at reading between the lines, right? Sensing a friend's mood, a child's unspoken need, that weird tension in a meeting.
Exactly. And the source links this back to evolution, needing to understand pre-verbal infants. That's a huge driver. And also needing to quickly assess the intentions or threats posed by physically stronger individuals in early human groups. Survival depended on that sensitivity.
A highly tuned danger detection and emotion reading system.
Pretty much. But here's the cost. That heightened sensitivity, that powerful intuition, it can easily tip into oversensitivity, a higher baseline level of anxiety.
How so?
Well, that constant scanning of the environment, picking up on subtle cues, when it's unverified worry, just that nagging feeling, it can trigger the body's stress response.
The physical side effects.
Yeah. The source mentions increased risk for things like stomach ulcers, a weaker immune system, maybe you catch colds more easily, and even long-term neurological stress. Worrying literally takes a physical toll, and chronic stress isn't good for the brain long-term, potentially even increasing Alzheimer's risk later on.
Wow, that's a heavy price for intuition.
It can be if it's not managed, yeah.
Okay, second advantage, enhanced empathy and collaboration.
This one's really interesting. Women often excel at understanding how others feel and building cooperative environments.
I remember reading about that Harvard Business Review study mentioned in the source.
Right. Teams with more women outperform teams with, higher average IQs on really tough tasks.
Yeah.
They acted as the team glue.
Team glue, I like that.
And it seems to start early. There was that infant study where baby girls preferred looking at human faces, while baby boys were more interested in mechanical objects, an early sign of that social empathetic wiring, perhaps.
So, naturally geared towards connection. What's the downside here?
Brain fatigue.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
That heightened empathy, that constant processing of others' emotions, the collaborative effort, it takes a lot of mental energy.
So the brain is just working harder.
Consistently harder in many areas. Dr. Amen's own scan studies showed this something like 70 out of 80 brain regions were more active in women on average.
70 out of 80, that's huge.
It is. And remember, your brain uses a massive chunk of your body's energy, 20 to 30%, just for thinking.
Wow.
So if it's constantly running in high gear, that leads to burnout. Things like insomnia, trouble sleeping, maybe loss of appetite, feeling persistently down or overwhelmed. Your brain is literally tired.
An always-on brain is an exhausted brain. Makes sense.
Oh.
Okay, the third advantage.
Superior self-control. This ties back to that larger prefrontal cortex, the brain's braking system we talked about.
Right, better impulse control.
We see it play out socially. Female conflicts are statistically less likely to escalate into physical violence. And the source had that stark statistic.
Oh, the risk-taking one.
Yeah, that men are about 4 times more likely to die from accidents related to risky behaviors. Speeding, extreme sports, that kind of thing. Women tend to be more cautious.
Bitter breaks again.
Yeah.
So what could possibly be the downside of having better self-control?
It's subtle, tied to brain chemistry. This higher self-control seems linked to lower baseline levels of serotonin.
Serotonin, the happy chemical.
Dr. Amen calls it the optimism elixir. And men, on average, have almost double the serotonin levels women do.
Gobble. Wow. So men are just chemically more optimistic.
Generally speaking, yes. More likely to brush off worries, feel things will work out. Women with lower serotonin may be more prone to pessimism, worrying, and risk aversion. And there's another layer. Women have less testosterone naturally, and testosterone actually boosts serotonin. And here's a really crucial point Dr. Amen makes, especially for younger women. Eating a lot of sugar lowers testosterone further.
Oh, wow. So sugar can literally make you less optimistic.
That's the biochemical pathway he points to. It widens that optimism gap. He really warns against high sugar intake for this reason.
That anecdote about getting lost really illustrates it, doesn't it?
It does. Women tend to stop and ask for directions right away. That's the risk aversion, maybe the lower optimism kicking in. Men are more likely to just keep driving, optimistically thinking, I'll I'll figure it out. That's maybe the higher serotonin saying, don't worry.
Fascinating. The very thing that promotes safety self-control is linked to lower optimism. What a trade-off.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's pull this together. The female brain. Incredible intuition, empathy, self-control, but shadowed by potential anxiety, brain fatigue, and this tendency towards pessimism.
That's the evolutionary package, according to Dr. Amen.
So now that we've kind of seen the brain, let's talk about caring for it. What are Dr. Amen's practical strategies?
He keeps it pretty straightforward, actually. Two main categories: hardware maintenance and software maintenance.
Hardware like the physical stuff.
Exactly. Diet, exercise, sleep, the basics. And software is more about managing your thoughts, building helpful thinking habits. And importantly, these strategies, they're good for everyone, not just women.
Universal brain pair principles, but maybe with extra relevance given those trade-offs we discussed.
Precisely. Now, within hardware maintenance, Dr. Amen really puts a huge emphasis on diet.
Why diet above all else?
Because of the gut-brain connection. You've probably heard the gut called the second brain.
Yeah, I have.
Well, there's a reason. Your gut produces a massive amount of neurotransmitters, those chemicals like serotonin, that regulate mood, energy, focus, more than the brain itself in some cases.
So fixing your diet is like tuning your brain's chemical supply chain.
That's a great way to put it. And he uses these little mantras to make the advice stick. The first one is pretty blunt. The whiter the bread, the faster you're dead.
Okay, direct. So avoid processed white stuff.
Exactly. Focus on high-fiber foods. Think green beans, peas, carrots, whole grains. And the why here is particularly important for women.
Why fiber specifically?
It helps balance hormones, especially estrogen. Estrogen is generally protective for women's health and mood, kind of like an umbrella. But not all estrogen forms are good. Some can be harmful. Fiber actually binds to those harmful estrogens in your gut and helps your body get rid of them.
So it helps maintain the good estrogen balance.
Yes, and this becomes even more crucial as women age. Estrogen levels naturally drop significantly around menopause, starting years before, actually. So getting enough fiber helps maximize the benefits of the estrogen you still have.
Got it. Makes fiber intake really non-negotiable, especially later in life.
Definitely. He also mentions things like green tea, probiotics, and fish oil as being similarly beneficial for hormone balance and brain health.
Okay. What's the next mantra?
Don't let fat fool you. Your brain is mostly fat, about 60%. Good fats are essential fuel. But bad fats, the kind you find in lots of fried foods, processed snacks, maybe super heavy meals like some BBQ or pizzas, they trick your brain.
Trick it how?
They can make you feel overly full and sluggish quickly, but they don't provide the right building blocks. They can promote inflammation, which is terrible for brain function. Basically, if a food makes you feel instantly weighed down and foggy, it's probably got those deceptive fats. Minimize those.
Okay, listen to your body's reaction after eating fatty foods. Makes sense. Any other quick hardware tips?
Hydration. Super simple, super important. Your brain is 80% water.
80%.
Yeah. Dehydration impacts focus, energy, everything. The guideline is roughly 3% of your body weight in liters per day. So if you weigh 50 kilos, that's 1.5 liters of water, minimum. Especially important if your brain is already working hard, like we discussed with female brain fatigue.
Good reminder.
Anything else?
Eat the rainbow.
I like that one. Consume variety. Exactly. Fruits and vegetables of at least 5 different colors daily. Those colors aren't just pretty, they signal different nutrients, different antioxidants. Think purple from blueberries or eggplant, green from spinach, orange from carrots, red from peppers. You need that diverse nutrient input. Sesame seeds, goji berries, kiwi, great examples mentioned.
Okay, so nourish the hardware with fiber, good fats, water, and colorful plants.
Yeah.
Now what about the software? Managing thoughts.
Right. This is about tackling those anxious, negative, or just plain annoying thoughts that can loop in our heads. Dr. Amen proposes a simple 4-question technique.
4 questions to challenge negative thoughts. Let's hear them.
Okay, let's use an example. Say you have the persistent thought, my boss dislikes me. It feels true, right?
Yeah, those thoughts can feel very real.
So, question 1, does this thought conform to the facts? Your immediate gut reaction might be, yes, totally. But then, question 2, can I verify it definitely conforms to the facts? This is where you have to pause and be objective. Is there concrete proof? Or is he just generally stressed? Does he treat everyone this way? Maybe you realize you actually can't verify it 100%. It's an assumption, a feeling.
Separating feeling from verifiable fact.
That's hard.
It is. Then question 3. If I believe this thought anyway, even without proof, how will I feel and act? The answer is usually negative. Stressed, anxious, maybe I'll avoid him, my work might suffer.
Right. Believing it has consequences.
Exactly. And finally, question 4. If I abandon this thought, even if I can't disprove it 100%, how will I feel and act?
Probably. Lighter, less stressed, more able to just do my job.
Precisely. You'd likely feel significantly more relaxed and free. Now, Dr. Amen is clear. This isn't magic. You can't just ask the questions once and be cured.
It's not a quick fix. No, he calls it slow medicine. It requires consistent practice, like exercising a muscle. But over time, repeatedly challenging thoughts this way can genuinely reshape your habitual thinking patterns and reduce the emotional sting of those negative thoughts. You're retraining your brain's software.
Slow medicine for the mind. I like that. Okay, so wrapping this incredible journey up.
Yeah, it's been a lot.
We started by looking at the unique blueprint of the female brain, those 2 small, 4 big differences. Then the core advantages: intuition, empathy, self-control.
But always remembering the trade-offs,
Yep.
the potential for anxiety, that real risk of brain fatigue, and the surprising link between self-control and lower optimism.
And finally, we landed on Dr. Amen's practical approach, maintaining the hardware with smart diet choices, fiber, good fats, water, color, and tuning the software by actively questioning negative thought patterns.
It's a holistic view.
So maybe a final thought for our listeners to chew on.
I think it comes back to that idea of truly seeing your brain. When you understand why your brain might be prone to anxiety, or why you feel mentally exhausted sometimes, or why optimism might not come as easily, it changes things.
How so?
It moves beyond just knowing what to do, eat well, manage stress, to understanding the deeper, personalized reason it matters for your specific brain wiring. That understanding, that insight, can provide a much stronger foundation for actually sticking with healthy habits. It fosters that conviction we talked about earlier.
Understanding the why fuels the how.
Exactly. It's about building an informed, proactive relationship with your own mind.
That's a powerful takeaway if people want to learn more about Dr. Amen's work.
The Amen Clinic's website is a great resource. That's www.amenclinics.com. They have questionnaires, articles, lots of information.
And this book, The Female Brain, it's part of a larger series, right?
Yeah, it's one of 5 in his brain health series. Others include titles like Brain Warrior's Way, Super Brain, Happy Brain, and Healthy Brain. So plenty more to explore if this sparked your interest.
Definitely worth checking out. Thanks for unpacking all that with us today.
My pleasure. It's fascinating stuff.